Hey, welcome back to part 2 of our Victorian architecture project. Last time we talked about using some simple shapes like rectangles and squares and triangles and trapezoids to build the basic layout of our house. And now we're adding details to either make it look beautiful and very gorgeous and pristine, which means very well taken care of, or we started talking about a few different ways to make it look more run down or more of like a haunted or broken house. Because a lot of times in movies, Victorian architecture can be used for the broken down houses that we see that are haunted houses. So last time we talked about making our shingles was where we left off. And we talked about how you can either make these really big U shapes, or you could do a different style of shingle if you wanted to. And of course, if you're making it look really nice and very well taken care of, you would have a roof that's very nicely fixed. But if you had a house that somebody had not been looking after for a long time, you might experience things like cracks or holes in the roof. And we kind of drew this like wobbly shape to make it look like it was broken. And then we did not draw our shingles through that. We left it empty. And we could do something where we either color these in black so it looks broken and an empty space, or a little bit later on as we color, I can show you some different options for that too. So we're gonna continue on with adding to our project. We have two different routes that we can go with it. Either everything you're adding is really beautiful and really nice, or even though we're doing something, you know, that could be haunted or broken down, we still want a really nice drawing, but that would definitely change the different ideas you end up having with your project. So I'm gonna do my best to try to show you both options, and please remember that you can pause it anytime, you can rewind it. I'm going to use Sharpie, but you can always use a pencil and eraser first in case you make a mistake, and you can erase it and come back to it. You can also be outlining in a black crayon if you want to, or a black colored pencil just to show a really nice outline, but you don't have to. And if you have any ideas of your own that you want to toss on, oh my gosh, please definitely do that. That's what makes it so special, because when we're all done with this, I want to see the different things that you have. So first, I want to talk about some different things you can add to your windows that you can do to both houses. One thing that I like to do is I like to add a small, thin rectangle underneath my windows. And you wouldn't have to do this to all of them. You could if you want to, or you could pick just a few, but this would be like a window ledge. Normally it's in like nicer, kind of fancier houses, and it would actually be right at the bottom line of your window. And it would just be this kind of little ledge that sticks out that sometimes people might even put flowers on, or in your older houses, you know, it might be broken, so you can even have like part of it that's cracked. If you wanted to make it kind of jagged, you could do something like that, or you could leave it off. You don't have to have it. It could be just like this, and that's all the more you want to do. You could choose to add something that helps to make your window look like it is not one solid piece of glass. Like right now, it looks like our window is just one piece, and you could leave it like that, or you could put kind of an X shape through it. Nope, not an X, more of like a cross shape through it. An X, you could do that. It would just be very different for sure. But you could make something that looks like it has window panes to it. You could do something where it looks like there are curtains that are drawn. And normally when someone does curtains, I tell them to kind of make a letter R. Like this is your line down. You're gonna make your curled letter R and then kind of the kick for it so it looks like tied up curtains. And you could even add a top part to the curtain. Like this could be like the upper part of that, and you could do it in different windows if you want to. Maybe do it again up here. And you could actually still have both things happening. You could still have, even for this one, you could have a window that still has the cross in it to show panes of glass, and then you could still have these to look like curtains if you want to. It wouldn't be something that would necessarily be on a haunted house, but you could do something where it looks like the window's closed and you have like doorknobs on it or handles that people could open it. And that could be something that's on your haunted house or your more pristine, well taken care of home. Or you could even do something where you have one door that's open and one door that's closed. I could leave this empty and I could leave that like a handle on it so it looks like this side is open. And that kind of leads me to another thought. If I take my marker and I make another line here and some lines like this, this actually is giving the fake idea of depth, that this shows that this has a thickness to it. So we could actually do some things in our windows like this. This side would be regular, and then we would make kind of this little arch and these lines that go across it like that. It now makes it look like this window is going into the house. It's adding a thickness to it and adding some space to it, which is neat. You could be very creative and think of your own things to be able to add in here. You know, you might have an area in like one of these houses where you have boards that are on your window, like maybe this one up here, this is boarded up. So this has maybe planks of wood across it. And anytime I draw wood, I always add, I'm gonna switch to a smaller Sharpie. I always add these little nail holes in it to make it look like that's where the wood pieces are ending and that's where they're nailed together. So this could be boarded up. You could always turn your wood planks so that they're not nice and even, but they could be that X shape that I kind of talked about earlier. Like you could have it look like this is boarded up, but yet there's still some different holes around it. And you can do this if you want to with your bigger Sharpie or your crayon. It doesn't have to be a teeny tiny one if you don't want to. You could even, if you want to, if you're almost making this even look like a castle idea, you could add some people in here. Or if it was, you know, a time where they were celebrating something, you might be able to see into the window and see some different things happening. If you wanted to add some different details in there, you can. Or like I said, you could add just different planes of glass to it. If I make this across too, it's totally gonna look like eyeballs and a silly mouth. Sometimes I feel like houses can almost look like faces sometimes. I'm gonna keep these the same, but I'm gonna make it look like one of these are open instead. And then that kind of leads us to our door. You know, you should have some kind of doorknob in some way so that people can open the door. You could add something like maybe your door has a lamp above it, so you have like this really nice fixture that sticks down that shines light onto it. And of course, if I was doing something that maybe was run down, you know, maybe my light bulb in here is broken, so maybe I'd start to show the light bulb, but then it would be all jaggedy and kind of busted looking because it was broken. You could add a doorknob, doorbells, you could add windows into your door. Some people have that if you want something like this where they can see in. Some people also have panes of glass like this on the sides of their houses' doors so you could see in. You could add potted flowers. Like I said, please be creative too. I can't wait to see your ideas whenever you're done. You could also do things like a sign. Go away. Beware. Do not enter. You could add different things like that. Ooh, I'm actually gonna make it look like, I'm gonna make these little droplets so it looks like it's oozing something as it says go away. You should know this about me. I don't like anything scary. I don't watch any kind of scary movies. I don't like scary costumes. I like to decorate with pumpkins and like cute fun things, but I don't like scary stuff. So it's funny, but I do love drawing these kind of haunted or creepy looking houses. One thing I would consider doing too is maybe adding a pathway, maybe a step, or, you know, just kind of adding your path that goes out. You could always add things if you have room on the sides. You could add like a tree, you could add a graveyard if you wanted to over here to make it look kind of that creepy look to it. I'm going to add a big full moon to mine over here. And I think over here, just because it's really cute and fun, I'm gonna do the corner sun. You could always add some clouds. You could add very tiny little V's to look like birds. Same concept, but over here, you could make a small circle, color that in black, or you could even do it like purpley, rainbow shape, and then you kind of connect those together, and you could have yourself a little bat flying in the distance. Could do those same kind of clouds, but since it's more of a broken down looking house, the clouds here look a little spooky, but the clouds here look super fun and exciting. So the way that you have a lot of things drawn kind of helps the person looking at the art to decide what they're looking at and what emotion it gives them too. I'm gonna make some of my windows look cracked, so I'm gonna use this little tiny Sharpie, and I am going to make these little jiggly lines. They're kind of jagged, and that would make it look like there's cracks in the surface there. You could actually make a whole piece of a window busted out if you wanted to. You could make this jagged line go all the way across, and now it looks like part of this is completely broken out. You don't have to do any of this. You could do all of it. It's totally up to you. You could do things where, like I said, you have a beautiful princess in here changing. You could add little lines. Even something like this makes it look like a nice clean pane of glass, like it's reflecting that. You could have something where inside, maybe we can see a little ghost figure looking up. You could do something where maybe amongst the boarded up window, we could see little eyes like this looking through. But this is totally, if you haven't paused any part of the video yet, you should absolutely enjoy pausing it, adding tons of different things to your house that you want to add to it. This is totally where you can become creative. That's one of my favorite parts about art, is that even though I gave you this example and we're all working on stuff together, every single person's, when we look at it next week, is going to be really different. I said next week, tomorrow, whenever we look at it together, the next time we're able to talk about it and view it. You could even, for this one, you could make like a cute little bird. You know, there are so many different things you could do. He's just real simple. I'm gonna give him a couple music notes. Like I said, this window ledges, you could have a lot of beautiful flowers. I am not the best with flowers. Sometimes I forget to water them, which is terrible. You could make this look like different shrubs outside. Maybe they have a dog in the yard. So I really, really want you to be creative with how you're making and drawing these. Once you're done drawing them, then you're going to want to start to color them in. And this all does not have to be done at the same time. This could be all you do for your project. Some people actually like how this is black and white and they don't want to color in anything because this is just the way they want it to be, just a nice simple drawing. That's okay. Some people really like how it looks and they want to add color to it. So I do want to give you some directions and some tips for coloring in case you want to use them, but you don't have to. And you can use whatever you want to for coloring. I'm going to be using colored pencils. You can see I have a container that has tons of different colors to it. And I think one of the most important things about coloring is that you need to really use the different colors that you have. So let's say I'm coloring something in green. Well, these are all different shades of green I can use. So if I'm starting to color in my shingles, instead of just coloring in my shingles green, so let's say I have these shingles, and you did a way better job drawing them than this. Instead of drawing in my shingles and then coloring them green, I could still color them in green, but I could take way more shades of green and I could make it really exciting. So I could take this green, and I'm gonna work a little fast so you can see it. And I'm just kind of sprinkling around where I'm putting this shade of green. And then I'm gonna switch to a different shade of green. I'm using colored pencil because that's what I chose to use for this project. If you want to use crayons, you can. If you want to use, you know, some kind of colored pencil, a Crayola twistable, I'm trying to think, even like a gel pen or something like that, you can, that's fine. Any way that you would want to color it in is great. So I am switching between all of these different shades of green to get a really, really interesting color instead of just straight up the same green. So I think if you can tell, if I put the two of these together, let me do one more. So just so it's done. If I put the two of these beside each other, this one looks way more exciting than this one. So you can see that even though this is all green, it's definitely more cool to look at than this is. And you can do tons of different stuff with your colored pencils. You could even, with all those same shades of green, you could start to do some blades of grass. One thing I like to do is I like to color in my grass. And I normally push hard enough that I don't see white spots. I could even work in, let me see, if I'm doing this haunted house or rundown house, I'm gonna work in some brown, because I have a feeling that if this is what the inside of their house looks like, they're probably not taking a lot of time doing the outside. So I'm gonna add a little bit of brown to my colored pencil. You could do it with crayon too, just to make it look like it's maybe dry or muddy. And you can do things like, you can put a few little sprigs of grass coming up. Maybe the grass is real tall, it's growing real high, needs cut. My daughter told me she's never gonna cut the grass, no matter how much I yell at her. So she obviously doesn't like cutting the grass. This might look like her yard someday. You could do things like, maybe this slime is some kind of really cool color, oozy bright green. Maybe the hole in my roof is actually yellow or white because there's lights on in here. And I can see that the lights are going right through the roof. You could draw things that are totally things that you're interested in, different things that you like. I mean, I had a student that we were working on houses like this, and he added different Pokemon characters, and it was a Pokemon house. You know, another girl had made it this beautiful kind of princess, kind of like Rapunzel looking house to it. So whatever you choose is fine. It's your piece of art. Whatever makes you happy with how you're creating it is the most important part. But you do not have to have this all colored in and done by the time we meet again. You can absolutely take as long as you want to color on it, because great work takes time. So you might choose to work on this for even a week. Maybe you're just gonna color it a little bit here and there when you have some extra time, and that's totally fine. So really enjoy it, take your time. This is the second video on how you're gonna finish up your haunted house or your beautiful Victorian style home. One thing we talked about is that they're decorative, they're colorful, they're fun, they're tall. So I can't wait to see your different creativity that you have with it. So finish it however you see best with whatever art supplies you want. I would just like to see the drawings done next time we meet together. You don't have to color it in, but if you feel like spending the time doing that, you absolutely can.